Let's do this. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my vlog channel. Today I am filming a pretty exciting video because I recently got some new bookshelves, and as I was organizing them and going through all my books, I accumulated a gigantic bag of books that I'm gonna be unhauling. And today we're gonna be going over all of the books I'm getting rid of, why. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's definitely that time of year where I feel like we're all gonna start spring cleaning. So if you need some inspiration to go through and unhaul some books and just reorganize your bookshelves, make this it. Go unhaul some books. Getting rid of books that you may not really enjoy or want to keep allows for more space for new books, which is always exciting. But also, I just love the thought of being able to introduce or give someone else a book, especially if they will enjoy it and cherish it more than I do. So all of these will be going to my local used bookstore or donated to family and friends. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. The first book I'm going to be unhauling is actually a book that I did read last month. It is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. It's very fairy tale-esque, it's very whimsical. It follows a girl named Agnieszka, and in her town, the biggest villain threat to her family and everyone she loves is this evil forest, which is very interesting. The only one who knows how to keep the evil forest at bay is this wizard who they call the dragon, and in exchange for keeping the town safe from the evil forest, every 10 years, the dragon takes a random woman to come live with him and kind of be his like apprentice. As you can probably guess, Agnieszka gets chosen by the dragon, and it just follows them. For the first like 100 pages, I really enjoyed this, and then as it kind of went on and the story progressed and I found out where it was gonna go, I found myself losing interest, and it's just a little bit too whimsical and fairy tale for me. I like my fantasy worlds and the magic systems to be a little bit more concrete, and I just know someone else is gonna enjoy it more than I did. So I will be unhauling that. I'm gonna make a stack right there of all the unhauled books. Okay, next we have two historical romances. We have The Queer Principles of Kit Webb by Cat Sebastian and The Perfect Crimes of Marian Hayes by Cat Sebastian. This is the first and second book in a series. Now, I have not read these, unfortunately, but as I look at my bookshelves, I really just never felt compelled to pick these up. Initially, when I discovered these books, I bought this one, The Perfect Crimes of Marian Hayes, and I still would be so interested in reading this story, but everyone in the comments was like, wait a minute girl, that's the second book in a series, you need to read this one first. And so my friend Mana sent this to me, which is super nice. It's actually an ARC copy, which is interesting. And for some reason, the plot of this one just never stuck out to me, and I never found myself wanting to pick it up. So if I could just jump into the second book, then maybe I would have read this. But considering I have to like go through an entire series to read a book that I'm not even sure I'm that interested in anymore, it's just not worth it. So I will be, unfortunately, unhauling them. Next, we have a book that I did read. This is Crave by Tracy Wolff. I picked this up on a whim at Target. I was in the middle of moving. I just graduated college. We were like packing up our apartment, and I just wanted some like mind-numbingly entertaining YA romance. And I love vampires. I grew up reading Twilight, and I just heard that this is like the Walmart version of Twilight, which it definitely is. And I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna get it, give it a shot. It was like less than $10, I think, at the time. And it was an entertaining, fast-paced, goofy read. Like, I feel like this book is very aware of itself, and it like pokes fun at itself, which I thought was entertaining. But honestly, this plot and this world is just so fucking convoluted that I will never be continuing with the series. I read the first 2 books and it was just done by that point. And if I ever do want to read them, they're all on Kindle Unlimited, so there's just no reason for me to own the physical copy. It takes up so much space on my shelf, and I have Twilight on my shelves, so why would I need this, you know? Next is another YA fantasy that I've read. This is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, and I know this might be a little bit shocking to some of you. A lot of people really love this series. I've only read the first book, and I might end up continuing on with it later on, but I've decided that if I do that, I'm just gonna do it through ebook, because for some reason, and this might be a petty and stupid reason for me to unhaul a book, but these paperbacks are just too fucking big. Like, they just are too big, and it stands out so awkwardly amongst all my other books on the shelf, and I'm not interested in collecting the rest of the series. Like, if I had the entire series, I think it would look good on the shelf, but since I only have this one, it just sticks out like a sore thumb. What? is the, like, these are ginormous for some reason, and I just don't like it. Is that stupid? I don't know. Next book we have is a pretty popular one. It is a YA contemporary called All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I bought this. Like, I have had this on my shelf probably since like 2017, and I still haven't read it. So I feel like that's reason enough to get rid of it. Honestly, I have grown out of YA. I love a good YA fantasy. It's like one of my favorite genres, but for some reason YA contemporary just doesn't do it for me. It's just not something that I find myself wanting to pick up. So someone else will enjoy this a lot more. Next, we have some nonfiction books that I will be unhauling. First is Mindset, The Psychology of Success by Carol S. Dweck. Have I read this? No. This was actually given to me by my boss at the job that I worked at when I was 16. I worked at a sandwich soup salad place when I was in high school, and I became a manager, and when I became a manager, my boss gave me this. And I never read it, and I'm not going to read it, and I don't know why I still have it on my shelf. So I am not a self-help book girly, absolutely not for me. I will never pick this up. Next book I'm unhauling is Bachelor Nation by Amy Kaufman. I went through a period in 2018 where I was like obsessed with watching The Bachelor, and that's when I bought this, was right around that time. This is basically just a insider scoop on like behind the scenes of the show and drama and gossip about it. But now I'm not a Bachelor girly. I got invested in The Bachelor during Colton's season, and I really enjoyed the seasons after that. I loved Hannah Brown. But then Peter's season, Peter the pilot, is like where I fell off and I just didn't care anymore, and I just haven't gone back to it, so I'm no longer interested in this, but maybe someone else will be. The Bachelor is just not the superior dating show. The Bachelor is a little bit too Christian coded for me, I think. Next book I'm gonna be unhauling is Pride and Premeditation by Tirzah Price. This cover is so beautiful that I'm almost tempted to keep it on my shelf solely for that, but ultimately I know I will never pick this up again. It wasn't for me. This is a Pride and Prejudice murder mystery retelling, and when I picked it up, I thought it was gonna be like a modern day set retelling, but I was wrong. It's still set in the original time period of Pride and Prejudice. There's just like a murder thrown into it. I felt like this book focused way too much on the murder mystery and not enough on the romance for me, and again, I thought it was set in the modern day, and then when it wasn't, it kind of threw me off. I don't like reading books about women who are just trying to survive and be treated like a person. That was like 90% of this book. Our main character, Lizzie, just really wants to be a lawyer and work for her dad because her dad owns a law firm, but every man around her, including her dad, is just trying to convince her that she can't do it because she's a woman, and it's just her trying to prove them wrong the entire book, and I just can't read about that. I hate it. I can't do it. I just can't take the misogyny that is oftentimes found in a lot of historical romance, so yeah, just not for me. Next, we have some classics. And I'm not talking like Pride and Prejudice classics, I'm just talking like internet classics. First one is 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. This is another book that I've had on my shelf for years, probably like 10. Oh, B-roll just went off, sorry. It has just been sitting and collecting dust because I have no interest in reading it. I've seen the movies. My mom was obsessed with these when they were like very popular initially. And so me and her would always go and see the movies in theaters when they came out. And I just feel like now I've seen the movies, I know the story, I'm never gonna pick this up. And I just feel like smutty romance, especially romance with like kinks or like a dark romance, those genres have come so much farther than they were back when this was published. And so if I'm gonna read like a kinky BDSM romance, there's many other ones that I'd rather read than this. So yeah, I'm just gonna part ways with it. Next one is actually a book that I love, and this was my original copy, so I am a little bit bittersweet about getting rid of it, but I just don't really need to keep it because I got new editions of the series. But the book is Divergent by Veronica Roth. This is the initial copy that I bought myself when I was 14 and read for the first time, and I was obsessed with this book, you guys. Like, I loved this series even more than I liked Hunger Games at the time. Now, I don't know if that would stand true, but at the time, like, this was my favorite dystopian series of all the ones that came out. I just don't love the initial covers. I don't really need to keep this copy. It's not like I annotated or highlighted anything in it. And now that I have the anniversary editions, which are so stunning, there's just no reason for me to keep this, because if I was gonna reread the books, I'm gonna read my new copies. So I will be passing this along. Next, we have a book that I read in middle school that I literally remembered nothing about, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Why We Broke Up by Daniel Hadler, and then the art was done by Mayra Coleman. This is, it's like a book, but there's a bunch of art throughout it, and apparently it's about two people that broke up. I bought this when I was like 14 because I was like going through one of my first real breakups and I was sad, and I just like bought this and I read it, and I remember liking it at the time. I remember it like helped me at the time. But if you asked me now to tell you anything about this book, I've got nothing. I don't even know the characters' names. I have no idea. Obviously, for one reason or another, it wasn't memorable enough for me, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. Next, we have a book that I have not read. I hate unhauling books that I haven't read. I feel a little bit guilty about it, but it's okay. It happens. Sometimes you buy a book at a certain point in your life when you think you'd be interested in it, and then you come to find out that you actually aren't. And that's fine. And that's exactly what happened with this book. It is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Not only have I heard some questionable things about Rainbow Rowell lately, now that I'm like back into the booktube sphere and I'm like watching a lot of book content. Eleanor and Park, I loved Eleanor and Park when I was like 11 years old when I read it for the first time. I haven't reread it, but apparently people are saying that it actually is quite problematic in terms of its Asian representation. Yeah, I just don't know at this time if Rainbow Rowell is a author that I want to support anymore. This is Rainbow Rowell's like YA fantasy series. It is queer, which is a plus, but there's just so many other YA fantasy series that I would rather start and spend my time on. I'm just no longer interested in this. I've had it on my shelf for like about a year, over a year, and I just no longer want to pick it up. So I will be getting rid of this. The next book I will be getting rid of is a classic. It is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Now, before you come for me, I am not unhauling this completely. I just got a new copy. This is like a mass market paperback that I got a few years ago, and I have since learned that I absolutely hate mass market paperbacks. I don't know, mass market paperbacks are just too small and stiff for me, so I repurchased this book in a different edition, and so I no longer need the mass market paperback. And the same goes for The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I do really love this cover. I wish they would release this cover in like a normal traditional paperback size, but again, when I bought this, I did not know it was mass market paperback, and I just don't like them. So yeah, I need to get this in another edition, but I won't be keeping this one. The next book that I'm gonna be unhauling fits in the same vein as All the Bright Places. It is Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews. Again, this is a book that I bought in like 2016, 2017, sat on my shelf ever since then. I've never wanted to pick it up. YA contemporary is just not the genre I'm reaching for nowadays, so unfortunately I will be unhauling this. I do really like this cover though. I like just like the basic lime green. I feel like it's iconic. And the last book I'm going to be unhauling for today's video is actually one of my favorites. That is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. This is the original paperback that I got back when I read it for the first time in middle school. I love this book. If you somehow are existing in the year 2023 or beyond and you have not read this yet, stop what you're doing, pause the video, go buy it, go download it, go check it out from the library and read it. You will not regret it. And the only reason that I'm unhauling this copy is because I recently acquired a newer edition so that it would match my other Gillian Flynn books, and so I no longer need this one. I don't need two copies of the same book. But I'm also very excited to be able to pass this on to somebody else so that they can experience how amazing this is. This is a mystery thriller about a husband and wife, Nick and Amy, and on their wedding anniversary, Amy goes missing. And everyone is starting to think that Nick is responsible, but who knows what the truth is? Well, I know, and you'll know too if you read this book. All right, those are the books that I'm going to be unhauling. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today and for watching this video. I hope you liked it. I will talk to you all in my next video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that other YouTube stuff if you want to see more of me. I'm sending you lots of love and light. Bye!